Hello everyone, XV here from youtube.com/xvroguegaming, and this is the second video in a weekly series I'm doing for Dota Cinema designed to take your game to the next level. With 4 different posts and an aggregate of over 400 thumbs up, this week's video will be on roaming and ganking. This refers to the practice of leaving your lane to kill an enemy hero in another lane from surprise. It is not to be confused with simply killing the enemy heroes you're laning against. Those are kills of opportunity. All in all, there are 4 components to understand. Though some heroes are exempt from this, vision is far greater during the day for both heroes and towers. Creep vision is roughly the same day or night, but that's because they can't see far at all in the first place. Outside of radius, vision is also limited by trees and higher ground. As Radiant, here's your standard vision up to just past the river during the day. Now let's compare that to night. Likewise, let's do the same for Dire. Day, then night. Combining the two, we see that there are particular areas that are best for staging your ganks. Moving between lanes is easier said than done. There are several points of failure. MIA calls, being seen by wards, and being seen by players. If flagged as missing or if you pass as an X on the minimap, any good opponent will play defensively. Likewise, if you're spotted by a player off to the side of the lane, they'll immediately fall back. To circumvent this, the first thing we have to do is move between lanes swiftly. The best way to do this is via teleport scrolls. Falling back out of sight and teleporting to a different lane will normally let you get into a ganking position before the missing call is either said, or failing that, before it's been reacted to. Make sure that the lane you're teleporting to is pushed forward so that you're not seen arriving, and quickly move back and into the woods. Teleporting is the most effective way to cross-map gank. When going to an adjacent lane, an alternative method is to navigate the jungle. The middle towers are somewhat more difficult to teleport to due to how frequently vision is shared anyways. When maneuvering through the jungle, it's important to recognize where players place wards. Always assume that there are wards here and here. You can take a slightly longer path to avoid them, or purchase Smoke of Deceit to pass undetected. When it comes to actually achieving your kills, you need to work with your teammates. The first thing to do is to announce that you're coming before leaving your lane. After your arrival, you need to inform your teammates. I see countless ganks fail because one or more participants were not prepared and the enemy narrowly slips away. Lastly, have a plan. Either one of you needs to notify the other of who you are going to kill and who is going to initiate. Sometimes the choice of initiator is extremely obvious, but other times it's a coin flip. Failure on this front causes you to either attack different heroes, double up disables, or not be in range when your teammate makes their move. So now that we understand vision, roaming, and staging, let's discuss execution. Assuming Tier 1 towers are still up, each lane has 3 zones. The point of conflict, where creeps are fighting one another, your safe zone, which is directly behind the point of conflict closest to your tower and heavily dependent on vision, and the risk zone, which is the opposite side of the creep, closest to the enemy tower and normally out of sight. While this should go without saying, just briefly, the safe zone is safe due to it having an unobstructed path back to your tower, and the risk zone is that way because you risk creep and tower damage if you pursue, and you open up additional routes to get behind you. Lastly, these zones are inverted between factions. A proper gank takes place when you remove the enemy's safe zone. This is done by either waiting for them to move into the risk zone or by entering into their safe zone from the side or behind, making it impossible for them to head back to the tower without taking damage. So let's talk about specific lanes, the angles of attack, and how to convert these zones. This is the kill box. It's the primary gank location for a number of reasons you'll notice are repeated between the 3 lanes. It's out of range of the towers, it does not normally have vision into the woods, and you're able to get behind your opponent. As a mirror of the top lane, this is the kill box. Out of range of the towers, does not normally have vision into the woods, and you're able to get behind your opponent. The middle lane is trickier. This is because it is the only lane with a high and low ground component. Standing at the top of the ramp, you're able to see across it, but in the river, you lose vision of the hill. This makes staging middle ganks a lot more difficult. As Dire, the best positions are here and here, depending on which lane you're coming from. As the Radiant, the same applies here and here. Both also have trees that can be entered that shield you from vision and allow you to get behind the Tier 1 tower. The best time to attack is when your opponent is in the river, or better, the other side. This is easiest to execute at night because even though they have the high ground advantage, you are able to get incredibly close before being seen. So we know how to move unseen and what to do when we get to lane, but when should we gank? Leaving your lane is a difficult affair and is a measure of priority. Beyond cruel enjoyment, the reasons for ganking are straightforward. If leaving your lane is going to get your teammate killed, or if you're leaving your lane empty, you are not going to net an advantage. For any lane, the best time to gank is immediately after a kill of opportunity in your own lane or sending your opponent back to base. Your enemy in lane won't be there to call that you're missing. Though this favors the middle lane predominantly, another key deciding factor is rune spawn. For a detailed description of rune swaying, see my video on playing a dedicated ganker hero linked below. Having learned all about performing them, I couldn't end this guide without briefly touching on shutting down ganks. Disrupting a gank can be done by interfering with any of the areas we talked about. Vision of the river and rune locations is paramount. Placed at the mouth of your jungle, you'll be able to see when an enemy hero is coming via the river and what rune they've acquired. Vision of the staging areas is the next most important thing. These wards can go to waste if no ganks are attempted, whereas the ones in the river will serve the secondary purpose of rune watching. But they're worth the gold for peace of mind, often letting you make aggressive plays you might have thought twice about otherwise. If heroes are missing, it's safe to assume something's up. The simple act of moving to the opposite wing of your creeps can put you out of range of hooks, or give you the few seconds warning you need to avoid a stun. Lastly, when you've pushed significantly past your tower, the 3 zones change into critical risk, where it will be suicidal to push, risk, where even behind your creeps you have many avenues to be attacked from, and safe, being all the way back at your tower. I see a lot of players naturally let themselves transition into this area and then wonder why they die afterwards. While there is so much more that can be said about ganking for specific heroes or expanded methods, I hope that you found this video useful for taking your game further. Also, I was so impressed with the number of quality topic suggestions that I've decided to add prizes. To be eligible, simply be subscribed to my channel and suggest a topic you'd like to learn about in the comments below. Whether or not your topic is used, you will be entered into a raffle, and the winner each week gets any non-courier item of their choice. As always, if you liked this video, thumbs up, share, and subscribe to my channel for more in-depth guides and exclusive content. Until next week, this is XV, signing out.